Thank you. Appreciate it. TMS Property Management. This is one of the reasons why I do this. Is that little fellow on the bottom right-hand side, that's me, in case you don't recognize that. My older brother looks like he should have been on Soul Train. That's my dad on the top left over there. One of my uncles, this is a good one-to-one factoid. You all talked to me about this on one-to-one. One of my uncles actually made rollerblades, and my first cousin skated on them. This is 10 years before rollerblades were ever marketed. But again, I do it for this kid because he's very creative. He used to come up with a lot of, I think, pretty amazing stuff, even at that age. One of the things that I came up with was this. And I know you don't know exactly what I'm pointing to, but in South Carolina, they used to have these projects, and they give little kids, elementary school kids, and they say, okay, we want to protect soil erosion or guard against soil erosion. And so I said, well, this is what you should do. I said, of course, the beaches won't look very nice, but what you do is build a concrete wall and have a platform behind it. And so when the water goes over the top, so here's the water, goes over the top, it'll drain back here to the side, some to the side, but also there's like a grate in here, and it just drains back in here, and it spills back into the system itself, into the ocean. And I was in Jeju Island, which is where this is. And I saw this, and I was like, I can't believe this. This is exactly what I designed as a kid. And so real estate is like that. This is my background. I mean, all these different places here. All of this represents 22 different states worth of work. U-Haul, El Pollo Loco, Hardee's, Denny's, Quincy's, CVS, Walgreens, some work with Kroger as well as Publix. All right, I've talked about this one before. There was this hotel that was in downtown Atlanta. It looked kind of like, well, Doris Day supposedly owned part of it. And looked like they shot like an Elvis film or something there. And this was when I first moved here, 94, 95, it was located there. Tore this down, and this piece of property here was it was vacant. And I had Publix at the time. Publix wanted to be in Midtown. So I approached these guys, and some of you have heard this story before, but I approached these guys about developing the condos up above this, and this is Spire, and putting Publix on the bottom. Okay, I talked to the wrong people. They'd screwed me over, they wasted my time. And in the interim, I lost Publix, and then they went around the corner and down the hill, to that location. And Robert McClure actually worked on this building behind the Publix, but he did a lot of work there. We found that out in our one-to-one. And so they escaped and went down to this area, so I got screwed by that. But first, going down the street and seeing this piece of property and having Publix on the back pocket, I was like, this would be a great place for them. And they agreed this is the #1 location that they wanted, and then I couldn't deliver, so they went someplace else, to a different broker. And so I guess about 3 weeks ago, I was riding down Ashford Dunwoody, and there's a piece of property there, and sometimes things hit you and sometimes they just don't. And on this particular occasion, I looked at the property and I said, that'd be a great property for a Krispy Kreme. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. And so I presented it to Krispy Kreme. They got back to me in like 2 hours and said, yeah, we want that location, let's get it done. All right, but it was 2.5 acres. Krispy Kreme only needs 0.65 or so. And so the person that I contacted said the other part of the parcel already has a development planned on it. We'll go ahead and put Krispy Kreme on the front, no problem. I said, listen, if those guys run into problems, you give me a call. I can put something together in 5 days for you and offer good, solid people. Could I have done that? Not really, I guess. But the thing is this. If somebody tells you, really, if somebody asks you essentially, can you do something? And someone said this, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. They said, yeah, you tell them yeah, and then you figure out how I'd get it done. I knew enough people where I could get it done. 5 days, no. But at any rate, what I did is the guy called me back. And so I talked to him, and he told me that this other group wasn't so strong. They didn't believe in them very much. And I said, okay, great, let me call you back. So I called a friend of mine. We'd worked on, Kroger gas stations. And so Kroger at the time wanted to have gas outside of their property. And so I put together all these different sites, negotiated, and then they changed their minds. So all that time wasted. That's how real estate is sometimes. But at any rate, I called him up because I knew that he was working with guys that are doing this development in Midtown. It's $1.2 billion development. It's retail, residential, office, hotel. All right, and these guys are out of Israel, and they're just coming to this country and starting to develop. And so I said, hey, listen, this would be a good site for you guys to do a second location. It'd be great for the press and a good introduction into the American market. He came by, took a look, he says, I agree with you. And so we just finished, I guess, a second round of meetings with these property owners. They're happy with them. We're going forward with everything. They want to be, and this is great, they want to be there. The owners want them there, and it looks like we're going to work out a deal there. But again, sometimes things hit you, and sometimes they just don't. Because I'd ridden up and down that street, past that locations, 100 times, but I never thought twice about, hey, listen, let me call and put this deal together. And it was for sale for a long, long time, and it was under contract once I did call the people. But luckily, I ran my mouth probably a little too much, and they believed it and got back to me, and then we got that worked out. I usually talk about the intersection of Piedmont, I think I'm someplace else, of Old Peachtree and Satellite, because I think it's a juicy location, because I made a good bit of cash over there with different things that I'd done. But I'm not going to go there. I'm instead going to talk about another location. There was this really cutting-edge condo development that's going on in Peachtree. The guys, like I was telling you guys about it earlier, John Portman's son, he was over the project. It fell out. They're trying to sell it. So I got a different group involved in that one, and we're going through the same process together. So it's like I have this group doing this large one, the other group doing the other one. They've got the cash. Everybody's ready to go with it. Hopefully that works out. But again, it's another location that I passed by forever and never thought twice about that, and then finally put that together. This is what I be looking for. Businesses expanding, needing additional square footage, new facility, businesses in the ready to divest themselves of space, investors wanting to find retail. And I can also do some residential, mainly like apartments and things like that. I don't do single family homes or anything like that. And businesses to purchase and sell. I've been doing a little bit of that too, but I'm also working with John Roman, my good friend now. And so I'm getting some of the businesses from the Korean community, shipping them to him, let him go ahead and work it out, and then we'll, work it out in the back end. He'll take me to lunch sometimes. I'll take him to lunch other times, that sort of thing. So, Sean Keenan, TMS Property Group, thank you very much.